بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's On Disciplining the Soul, Kitab Riyadat al-Nafs, translated by Timothy Winter Abdul Hakim Murad. We have reached page 89 and we are still reading from the exposition of the requirements of aspirancy, the preliminaries to spiritual struggle, and the progressive induction of the aspirant in treading the path of discipline. Some of the ideas that we have read at the end of the last session that when a man has found such a refuge, but here the refuge is understood as being built of four things, of four pillars, if you would like, if four foundations: solitude, silence, hunger, and sleeplessness. Of course, when we say solitude, you do need a moment when you are on your own, pondering on the universe, praying, reciting the Quran, making dhikr, supplicating, but you are on your own. ساعة مناجاة. The opposite of this, if you are with people, or if you are in the midst of company, if you are in the market, if you are going to advocate the good and prohibit evil, if you're going to remind people of the straight path, if you will, to have patience when people harm you because of what you stand for, then being with people is also needed. One would say it's even better, but doesn't mean that you are going to spend your time amongst people. There is no way, even if you want to. So solitude, silence. Don't say anything that will be when cops, when policemen, when they arrest someone, when they detain someone, they say it's a cliche, but probably it's needed legally. They say anything you say will be used against you, meaning in the court. In fact, that's the human court. Well, anything you say is going to be recorded. In if you read al-Bukhari, القول من جنس العمل. القول من جنس العمل. That speech is part of action. And this is why in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was asked, are we responsible for what we say? And in that hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that what else pushes people, throws people on their faces, or he said on their noses on the day of judgment, meaning in hellfire, except the harvest of their tongues. And if there's a harvest for the tongues, there's a harvest for the eyes, there's a harvest for the ears. For there's no backbiting except that someone is at least one other person is part of the picture. Harvest of the hands, harvest of the legs. See what you are doing, see what you walk to. Harvest of the hearts, what they entertain. So, yes, silence, but this silence should not prevent you from saying the truth. Hunger and sleeplessness. We will come to these in the way Imam Ghazali explains. Still, part of what we have read at the end of the last sessions, that a statement uh, attributed to Jesus Christ, peace upon him. He said to his disciples, or assembly of disciples, to speak about Hawariyin, make your bellies hungry, that haply your hearts may behold your Lord. And this is there's something about the modern life, the in the minor signs of the day of judgment. Obesity will be widespread, and this is an amazing thing. Obesity is a minor sign of the day of judgment. And there are societies that are infested with obesity. And the equation is very simple. You need a certain number of calories. You go beyond that, your body will store the rest. And it's just like mice in a cage with food. And what do? They eat, and people are kind of in a cage, the modern way of life, in their apartments, and there is practically no movement. And if they are stressed out, they look for comfort food. So the idea here is to make their bellies hungry. Of course, always think about what is wasat, what is really median, the middle path. Fast and break fast. Eat but stop eating. Eat but do not go beyond that one third for your food and that one third for your drink. And Sahel ibn Abdullah at-Tustari said the Abdal only aimed their degree, or they attained their degree, their level of spirituality. That's the degree, daraja. Through four attributes: hungering the belly, sleeplessness, silence, and isolation from men. The benefit yielded by hunger to the illumination of the heart is an obvious thing to which experience attests. The method of progress therein shall be expounded in the book of Breaking the Two Desires, Kitab Kasr Shahwatain. Sleeplessness, sleeplessness also clears, purifies, and illuminates the heart. But do not force it, and do not overdo it. Uh, Staying up, when this is added to the clarity brought about by hunger, the heart will be as a shining star. Just simply to link it also to the to an empty stomach, if you will, at one point. If you have a late heavy meal, it's not impossible for you to make qiyam, but Imam Ghazali says that this is one reason why people do not get up to pray qiyam layl. So the heart will be as a shining star when we add both sleepiness to hunger, and a polished mirror in which the beauty of the truth of al-haq blazes, so that a man comes to behold the exalted degrees of the afterlife and the vileness and vices of the world, at which this turning away from this world in favor of the next will be complete. Sleeplessness is also a consequence of hunger, for it is impossible to stay awake at night on a full stomach. This is really the reference of Imam Al-Ghazali that I spoke about. Sleep hardens and deadens the heart, unless that is it be done only in that amount which is needful, when it will conduce to the unveiling of the secrets of the unseen. It has been said, describing the Abdal, that they eat only what they need, sleep only when overcome by, by sleep, and speak only when necessary. Said Ibrahim al-Khawas, rahimahullah, 70 truthful saints have agreed that abundant sleep is the result of drinking water in abundance. Uh, Ibrahim al-Khawas Abu Ishaq, he was a contemporary of Imam al-Junaid. Again, moderation is the, whether it's drinking water or eating. As for silence, this is facilitated by isolation. However, the man who isolates himself by entering a retreat, khalwa, cannot help seeing the person who brings him his food and drink and who arranges his other affairs. He should therefore speak to him no more than is necessary, for speech distracts the heart, which is possessed of a tremendous greed. A tremendous greed for it, since it is made relaxed thereby, and finds it a burdensome thing to apply himself, or to apply itself exclusively to contemplation and the remembrance of God. Silence brings about a fecundity of the intellect, conduces to scrupulousness, wara, and instructs one in piety. The advantage of entering a retreat, khalwa, is that it dispels distractions and enables one to control one's hearing and vision, which are the entrance holes of the heart, in the manner of a lake into which foul and turbid water pours from the rivers of the senses. The purpose of spiritual discipline is to empty this lake of the water and the mud which it carried in with it, so that from the bottom of the lake clean and pure water might well up. If the rivers bring polluted water, the lake will be polluted as well. And literally, there are attempts now to revive many polluted, dead rivers, if you will. Here is a metaphor for purity. For one needs clean. If one cleans the input, then that which is stored, if you will, that which is kept, that you have is pure as well. How could such water be removed from the lake when these rivers continue to open into it, so that the water is constantly renewed even more rapidly than it can be drained away? Whence whence is there no alternative to controlling the senses and preserving them from all save that which cannot be avoided? This can only be effected by going into a retreat in a darkened room, or if no such a place is available, then by pulling up one's shirt so that as to wrap the head in it, or by covering oneself with some other garment. At such times, one may hear the call of the true God and behold the glory of the lordly presence. Do you not see that the summons to God's emissary, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reached him while he was in this state, referring that's the beginning of revelation when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Ghar Hira, in that cave, and that's in fact small cave. So that it was said, O thou wrapped one in thy raiment, and also, O thou wrapped one in thy cloak. Ya ayyuhal muzammil, Ya ayyuhal muddathir. But one also should be um, aware of the of sensory deprivation. If you are in a dark room, pitch dark, where there's absolutely nothing you could see, and this sensory deprivation might prolonged, let's say, might cause also hallucination, and this is why the sheikh would basically uh, would know whether one is ready to go through such an experience or not. One might say it's not for the faint-hearted. But a tranquil place, um, away from people, even if it's not pitch dark. And when Imam Al-Ghazali spoke about a Sufi who subsisted on basically the story of Abu Yazid al-Bastami, that he lived in the prairies of Baghdad on the outskirts, subsisting on wild herbs, on green, strictly speaking. He was on his own. That's the whole thing. He did not need people. He did not need anyone to take care of him. He was not worried about what he could eat. Simply, all these wild air, he subsisted on that. So much so that, as I said, his skin turned green. So if you are on your own, That helps. And that which surrounds you might also help um, in remembering the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say that you are in your retreat, even if it's dark, simply not turning the light on. Uh, if you hear a bird chirping, singing, if you will, what do you make of that? If that's really the bird's praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you associate that beautiful voice with praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first of all, it is the bird and the including the beautiful sound. That's really Allah's creation. So, from more than one perspective, it's a reminder of the bounty, the gift, that the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that He bestowed on us. Beautiful voices, beautiful colors, beautiful flowers, beautiful. It's only human beings who disturb the picture. So that might also help align one spiritually. The So as for silence, again, this is facilitated by isolation. However, the man who isolates himself by entering a retreat, khalwa, cannot help seeing the person who brings him his food and drink and who arranges his offer or other affairs. He should therefore speak to him no more than is necessary, for speech distracts the heart, which is possessed of a tremendous greed for it, since it is made relaxed thereby, and finds it a burdensome thing to apply itself exclusively to contemplation and the remembrance of God. Silence brings about a fecundity of the intellect, conduces to scrupulousness, wara, and instructs one in piety. The advantage of entering a retreat is that it dispels distractions and enables one to control one's hearing and vision, which are the entrance halls of the heart, in the manner of a lake into which foul and turbid water pours from the rivers of the senses. The purpose of spiritual discipline is to empty this lake of the water and the mud which carried in with it, so that from the bottom of the lake clean and pure water might well up. How could such water be removed from the lake when these rivers continue to open into it, so that the water is constantly renewed even more rapidly than it can be drained away? Whence there is no alternative to controlling the senses and preserving them from all, save that which cannot be avoided. This can only be effected by going into retreat in a darkened room, or if no such place is available, then by pulling up one's shirt so as to wrap the head in it, or by covering oneself with some other garment. At such times, one might hear the call of the true God and behold the glory of the lordly presence. Do you not see that the summons to God's emissary, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reached him while he was in this state, so that it was said, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, Ya ayyuhal muddathir. These four things constitute a shield and fortress, with the aid of which one may defect the passing things, hawarad, which block the path. Having done this, a man may then devote himself to treading it. This can only be achieved by traveling over the hills through which it passes, the highest of which are those attributes of the heart which are occasioned by one's inclination towards the world. Some of these are higher than others and are to be overcome in a particular order, namely, that one should address oneself to the easier ones first, which will then help one to overcome the rest. By these attributes, I refer to the inward realities of the attachments, which one ostensibly severed at the outset of one's aspirancy, and also their effects, by which I mean wealth, reputation, love of the world, turning towards created things, and the yearning for sin. For one must empty one's inward aspect of these effects, just as one divested one's outward of their visible causes. It seems like the image is like that of a of a boat, and there is a hole, so water is leaking into the boat, and you have a bucket, and you keep um, removing water from the bottom of the boat in order not to sink. But there's a hole. There's a hole, and if we continue to allow the senses to bring in unacceptable, distracting information, it's practically like we continue to uh, clear the bottom of the boat as much as possible, of course. If it's too much, the boat would sink. If you cannot handle the amount of water inside the boat, it would sink. It's a daily struggle. It's a daily struggle about the daily struggle against Satan, against one's own self. We're talking about النفس الأمارة بالسوء. Uh, that part of you that even if it's not haram, there is that tendency to seek that which is the comfort zone, if you will. Fun, the American concept of fun, which destroyed really a whole. It's a way of life. It's a way of life, and it is lost. There is no, you cannot. This is not saying that on the individual level people cannot be saved, but I'm talking about the West is lost it in the sense of it's going to collapse. It doesn't mean that they will disappear, but as centers of power, with this disintegration of the family, of ethics, of morality, and almost permitting every single prohibited thing. And the entertainment industry, people are afraid. They cannot handle not being entertained. They need their dose of cheap entertainment, and it is kind of an addiction, of course. Although a protracted effort is required for this, it does not or does differ in accordance with circumstances. Some people have been preserved from some of these attributes and must therefore labor for a shorter time. The chapters, still we have quite a few pages, and I hope that in the next session we'll be able to uh, read these pages. Until the next session, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.